You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
Hey, and welcome to Fan Theory Queries, where we analyze fan theories from all over the internet, but mostly Reddit. I'm Laura.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Spencer, and I'm Spencer. I was looking at myself.
I was distracted because it glitched on Michael and it made it go, I'm Michael.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Anyway.
Speaking of Michael.
Yeah. So, this episode, I am speaking to you guys with a theory about the Fast and Furious movie, the first one.
Ooh.
It is from Downhill, user Downhill, ironic. And their theory is that was Brian's first street race busted so he could rescue Dom?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll see. All right, so maybe this is obvious to some of you, but I had always thought the race was just busted naturally and Brian was caught in the middle and improvised. We know Brian goes there undercover because there's a connection to the underground street racing and a recent string of highway transport truck robberies, so he's there to find some information. He races Dom, loses. Police scanner chatter reveals the street racing has been reported. Everybody scatters. Police chase Dom on foot in an alleyway, and Brian pulls up and takes him away. The thing is, Brian would have no way of knowing where Dom went. Nobody else in Dom's crew knew where he was. Dom was all alone. He ditched his car in a parking garage and was walking down the street alone when a random cop spotted him. If the cops showed up to bust illegal street racing, why would they concern themselves with a random pedestrian walking? And the cop recognized Dom and gave Dom fair warning over the loudspeaker that he recognized Dom to give him a running start. Dom runs into an alley, and out of nowhere, Brian pulls up to rescue him. Unless Brian was just incredibly lucky, the only way he would have known where to find Dom would be if the police gave him the location, since he's there undercover. I suspect the police even knew Dom was in the parking garage to begin with, because Brian got there so insanely fast. Also,
And Furious?
when the race was...
No.
Yes.
He's not furious.
Also, when the race was reported over the scanner, it was convenient that Brian had enough time to return to the finish line to talk to Dom. A large crowd of cars gathering wasn't reported. The streets being blocked off wasn't reported. It wasn't reported during the race. It was reported when Brian was in the perfect position. Then it wasn't just one cop showing up one at a time. They all showed up at once, like they planned it and waited for the right time to create chaos. Then Brian, completely inexperienced with his granny shifting and not double clutching, suddenly has the skills to evade the police. I'd imagine the police didn't try too hard to keep up with Brian, but there is one cop who gets T-boned by a civilian car. That civilian had run a red light, honked as Brian drifted around the corner, then T-bones the cop that was turned left on what he thought was a safe green light. And the final clue to my theory, which is more of a clue on the writer's part more so than the character's knowledge. After they escaped the police, after Dom's rival gang shot up the car and Dom took Brian back to the party with his crew, Vince is calling Brian a buster. Dom is pissed at Vince because this buster saved him while everyone else scattered. Vince defends himself by saying they lost Dom because there were too many cops, and then he says that was orchestrated. So that's the theory.
I have seen exactly one Fast and the Furious movie, and it is this one.
Mm-hmm.
When did this movie come out?
2001.
Oh, man. Yeah, 2001,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure the last time I saw this movie was in 2001. Because I only saw it once. I do remember them racing across the railroad track when the train comes.
Mm-hmm.
I remember there at the end where they tried to break into the tractor trailer, but the truck driver has a shotgun. He's trying to shoot him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Nos, because who can't forget, or who can't, who can't forget God. So Brian is Paul Walker, and Dom is Vin Diesel, vehicle identification number Diesel. Okay.
Yes.
And Brian is undercover cop.
That's correct. It starts off as him. Yeah, it starts off as him being undercover, and then through the power of brohood and movie magic, he ingratiates himself with this street racing crew and ends up becoming part of the family that is so notorious later on in the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
And he also falls in love with Dom's younger sister, who's played by what's her name?
What's her character's name?
Is
that Letty?
Mia.
Is that in this movie? Or a different
Yes.
movie? Okay.
I am not seeing a Mia in this. Mia Toretto.
Jordana
Brewster.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Played by Jordana Brewster. She, so there's kind of a love story mixed in there too. There's a lot of stuff that's happening in this movie, but I know, Spencer, you said that you've seen it once. Laura, I'm assuming you probably have not seen any of these. Am I right?
Nope. No, I have not.
Okay.
But you've seen them all, right, Michael?
Yes,
Which
I have.
one's your favorite?
And I don't know. It's either going to be probably 5, 6, or 8. I think those are my 3 favorites up to this point.
Gotcha.
So that took a long time to get to the good ones.
Well, he had favorites before then.
Well, the first one I enjoyed for what it was. The second one, not a fan at all. The third one was absolute trash. The fourth one, I honestly don't even remember the plot of that. But it is almost like a soft reboot of the franchise at that point. Because basically here's what happens. The first one happens. We know generally the storyline of that. The second one, they take it to a completely different place. Vin Diesel's not even in that one. It's only about Brian and Tyrese's character, who's introduced in that one. And they're in Miami now and doing something. And then the third one goes to Tokyo and introduces an entirely brand new character. And Brian and Vin Diesel are not in that one at all. Although spoilers for spoilers for those that care. Vin Diesel does have a very brief cameo at the end of the third one. He shows up to kind of give his approval of the main character in the third one. But then after that, they take it back, like they do the soft reboot and bring it back to the main cast from the original in number 4. And like I said, the plot of that is very forgettable because I honestly don't remember half of what it is. I remember one thing from that movie, or 2 things from that movie. One, that's the one where Gal Gadot's character is introduced, or Gal Gadot, however you say her name. And 2, there's this chase scene with this fuel truck that has like 2 trailers of fuel, and they basically hijack the truck, and there's a whole action sequence with that.
So
That's all I
the
remember from
fourth
that. But
one,
then
the one that's just called Fast and Furious.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, the one line thing about it on IMDb just says, he's working for the FBI now, Brian. And
Oh yeah,
they
that's
are
right.
going to
He
bring
is.
down a heroin importer by infiltrating his operation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I forgot about these. So I'm looking at, I pulled up Fast and Furious on Wikipedia. I forgot, but did you guys remember Zip Zaps from Radio Shack?
No.
They were teeny
No.
tiny, very teeny tiny miniature remote control cars. And I had these, and I had a Fast and the Furious car. I think it's like
Oh,
a
nice.
blue and green one, right? Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. I forgot about those. But also, I just remembered that
Nice.
there's a Fast and Furious board game from Funko Games.
Yes,
What?
we've played
And
that.
it's
really
fun.
fun.
It's fun.
It's very
Yeah,
okay.
fun.
It
I
came
have
out
to
last.
find this.
Yeah, it came out last year. It's a co-op
Just
game.
Steal other people's cars. You can jump over them. You can slide
Nice.
underneath trucks. Yeah.
Yeah, there are 3 scenarios.
cool.
A tank
Which I
fight.
think are the first 3 movies, right?
a tank fight, a semi heist, and a helicopter fight.
That's cool. Love it.
Anyway,
Back to the actual theory and no more of the history of the Fast and Furious franchise. Essentially, what they're saying is that there's this pivotal scene during a street race in the first one where all these cops show up out of nowhere and bust a lot of people, and it causes Brian, or puts Brian in a position to where he can save Dom. And so they're saying that it was all part of the plan.
These people all have super cool
what-
names, and then Brian's name is so boring and vanilla. And I keep hearing Stewie saying, Brian.
Brian, are you going fast and
Yeah.
furious? So my question is, when Brian saves Dom, does he become his best friend? Like, what's the point of him busting it?
It's a bonding moment for the two of them because Brian saves Dom, and then they make a getaway and get away from the police. Okay. And then while they're getting away, they accidentally drive into like Chinatown or something where there's like a Chinese or Japanese street gang. I don't remember. It's some sort of Asian mafia type thing, and it may be Yakuza. And so there's this Japanese street racing gang. And they're in their territory now, so basically they're in a lot of danger. And their car gets blown up, and it's a really cool explosion because the NOS makes the explosion, the fire turn like green, and it's really cool. Anyway, so they have to walk back.
Tim Allen.
They have to walk back to the safe house or the family house of the Torettos. And when they get there, there's this party going on with all the rest of the people who already got away. They're just
and Coronas,
having a party. Not even, yes, a lot of Coronas. And I'm not even joking. That's the first thing that Dom offers Brian whenever they go in is he goes to the kitchen and gets him a Corona.
I much prefer this Shiner Vanilla Cold Brew Coffee Ale that I'm drinking. It is fantastic.
That sounds amazing.
It is.
Not
anyway,
ad.
so when they get there, unless you want to sponsor us, Shiner, we'd be happy.
Please,
do.
please.
Yes,
We need money, please.
yes. So anyway, after they get their Coronas, one of the other guys from the crew, Vince, comes up and basically is saying how glad he is that Dom is safe. And then Dom blows up and he's like, "Where were you? Like, how you didn't help me? I was saved by the Buster here." And basically got mad at everybody for bailing on him while Brian was there to save him. So that's the moment where he and Brian become buddies.
So,
and yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, so that would be the purpose behind this bust, is so that he could be on his good side?
It further ingratiates Brian into Dom's crew.
Okay, so help me out here. What is the definition of a buster in this? Because I'm simply going by TLC's definition of a buster from No Scrubs. So could you?
That's essentially what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's the same. Yeah, basically.
Is it a tattletale?
It's an insult. So
he's a guy who thinks
Vince
he's
is
fly.
the one that first. Well, Vince is the first one that calls him a buster, and it's an insult. He sees him as a poser, essentially, and so that's why he calls him that. And it just kind of sticks. And later on, it goes away after a few movies. But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of it. So I do have some other things to say about it, but I need to save them for my rating. Yeah.
Okay.
So unless you guys have anything else to add right now, I think it's time to go into the comments.
I have something.
Oh, you do have something.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of times when we have a theory, it's always interesting, but in many cases, I want to know.
Wouldn't that be every episode though?
Maybe. What's making this not be Why is this a theory?
Why is this even a theory?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that it shouldn't be, but just like from my perspective, obviously there's some between the lines things that they created, I'm sure, that weren't like directly stated. But what about this? What are the not the implications? What are the guesses that they are, or the inferences that they are making that are against what would just be obvious about the film?
So in the movie, it's never explicitly stated that the police showing up has anything to do with Brian being there.
Okay.
They basically, what happens is, I believe if I remember correctly, there's a pizza delivery guy that is almost hit by, or no, he's trying to deliver a pizza and they have the road blocked off for the street race and they won't let him pass. So he's mad. So he calls the police.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure he's the one that in the movie that they say does that. So that's where we're at.
Okay, then. That would have been very helpful in the setup for this theory for the theorizer to have concluded.
Yeah.
But I guess,
think they
they're
conveniently
probably
left it out.
expecting...
Okay.
They might have been expecting everybody to have... Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wonder if anybody wrote that in the comments.
Well, why don't we go there?
Let's go ahead and get to those, and we'll see. So the first comment is from OK Relationship 70. They say, yeah, I've always figured that. Vince even mentioned that the sting was far too coordinated, but nobody listens to Vince.
Oh, poor Vince.
Which is funny because everybody hates Vince. But he's honestly the only one that figures out that Brian's undercover this whole time. Mm-hmm. And then he gets trashed on. But he is a kind of a horrible human being, aside from knowing the truth.
Okay.
E Prime 10
his face
says,
looks totally douchey.
Who's the actor?
He's a jerk.
His name is Matt Scholes.
Oh, that guy.
You know, him.
Yeah. E Prime 10 says, I agree with the idea that the race was busted on purpose, but I don't think every cop in the city would be in on an undercover operation enough to let Brian know where Dom ends up. I find it more likely that Brian was tailing Dom after the race. That's sort of why he went undercover, to get in with Dom. Also, when Brian and Dom are fleeing from the cops, I don't think the cops are purposely trying to let them get away. Brian is just a good driver. He may not be a great street racer his first time around, as we see, since that requires a slightly different set of skills, but it's mentioned in both this movie and I think Too Fast, Too Furious that Brian did time for stealing cars, so he does have legit driving skills in a getting away from the cops scenario.
Question real quick before you move on. So I don't remember if you clarified this or if I missed it. Mm-hmm. At this point, when this bust happens, do they already know that he's undercover, or is he still...
No.
Okay.
No, it's not revealed. Honestly, they don't find out until towards the end of the movie, whenever Dom and Brian are having their drag race, essentially,
across the crane track,
prove that to prove that the car that Brian got for them to fix up the Supra was a fast enough car for it to be acceptable for Dom to accept it as a gift.
Okay.
And because basically what happens is Dom is driving his car. Dom is driving his car too crazily, and he loses control of it because it's a beast of a car, and he crashes. And in the crash, he's hurt. Brian goes to save him, and in order to save him, Brian has to reveal that he's a cop because he calls in for a helicopter paramedic to come and save him, but he has to use his cop designation in order to get it authorized, essentially.
That's right.
So that's whenever they find out. That's when they find out that he's a cop. So, Anyway,
I
in
was just
response
laughing
to
about that. In order to accept the gift, they have to prove that it's fast enough. Like, that's ridiculous.
Well, it's what happens is there's a street race earlier on, and Brian loses, and because of that, he owes Dom a car. It's like a 10-second car or something like that, is what they say. And he obviously doesn't have one, so he promises him that he'll get him one, and he basically finds this like hull or husk of an old Toyota Supra and gets it to him and says, we'll fix it up and we'll turn it into a 10-second car. And that's what they're testing out at this point.
Okay. And they bond while they're doing the building.
It's
Through a montage.
something like that, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
cute.
Anyway, so in response to E-Prime 10, the OP says, I don't think every cop in the city was even involved in the bust. The whole scene may have just only had 20-ish cop cars. But yeah, for my theory to work, all the cops in the immediate area would have to be in on it to keep an eye out for Dom. So basically, it doesn't have to be he's not saying that every cop in the city is in on the operation. It's just that everyone in the area is, which is plausible. And for that thing, I'm not saying the theory itself is plausible, but for that comment, that's a plausible thing. User Lawn Patrol 78 says, all this makes perfect sense. However, I refuse to believe that much thought went into it when it was being written. It's probably true. And the last comment is my favorite. It's from BigZ4444. He just says, or they say, it was the pizza boy.
Ta-da!
Which, coincidentally, fun little fact about that, the pizza boy in this movie was played by the director of the movie. That was his cameo.
It's true!
Okay.
I read that when I was
that's it.
doing this. Yeah, cool.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Yeah, I did. I was going to say something. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask if you had anything else to say.
No, I think we can go ahead and go on.
Yeah.
Okay. Laura, you good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, then let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll rate this theory.
Hey, and while we're gone, everyone else should check out shop.fantheoryqueries.com. We've got a large selection of branded items that one fan of the show coined cute merch. Thanks, Meg.
It is cute, isn't it? But this break isn't long enough for people to peruse the store. That's bad math, which is a reminder to everyone that if you use promo code BADMATH, all one word, at checkout, you'll get 15% off. Now, I'm going to be turning that discount off soon, so hurry! Be fast!
Just don't be furious.
Hello everyone, Stakuyi here.
And I'm Gabby.
And we are the hosts of History of Everything, a podcast which you can probably guess by the name is, well, I mean, it's about everything. Do you want to know why people thought potatoes were evil and would give you syphilis? Are you curious about all the stories of the terrible and stupid ways that people have kicked the bucket over the years? Do you want to hear tales about all of the different badasses of history and the lives that they had brought to life? Well, if so, then look no further. History of Everything is just the right podcast for you. It's available on Spotify, Pandora, and anywhere else that you get your podcast from. Join us for some fun and just see how weird and wacky history can be.
How would you like to challenge your little grey cells while reveling in the vintage perfection of David Suchet's Poirot?
If so, then the Labors of a Hercule podcast was made for you.
We're taking a deep dive into every episode of this masterpiece of television and giving you the clues you need to solve the case along with Poirot himself.
We present the case and you solve it.
Whether you're a detective in the making,
Or if you just simply want to gush over the genius and art decadence of Agatha Christie,
then subscribe now to the Labours of Hercule wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. I need to apologize. I should have told people don't be furious. They can be furious if they want to.
Good, because I started to feel furious that you told people how to feel, but then I had to hold my fury in because I was following your instructions. So now I'm super furious.
And I'm Laura.
And I'm ready to explain our theory rating scale. The highest rating that we have is genius. This is reserved for only the best theories, which we believe are better than the actual canon. The next step down is plausible. It's a good theory, it's believable. Unlikely is next. It's not a terrible theory, but pretty unlikely, as the name suggests. And then the last thing is preposterous. These are the theories that are just stupid. Basically, we're all dumber for having listened to them. Who wants to go first on rating this theory?
Me.
Okay, go for it.
I'm going to say that this theory is plausible. I like the idea that, I mean, I'm not always one to think the best of people. Just kind of depends on the situation. But in this particular situation, I don't have any animosity towards the Fast and Furious franchise. So I guess I'm going to give them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt that they did put that much thought into the script. Maybe I'm not even going to consider that. I'm just thinking that this is a moment in entertainment history, or like a peek into a window of a series of events that happen, regardless of if there's a writer there or not orchestrating everything. I think that as far as the in-universe events that are happening in this movie, I think that this is plausible.
I would like to give this theory an unlikely.
Okay.
Just because, I mean, it's not a horrible theory. They've put some thought into it. And I mean, I could see why they thought these things. But the point about the pizza boy is what makes me go, and that's wrong. So I'm not going to say I'm dumber for having thought it. I think that could have been the possibility until I heard about the pizza boy and the pizza boy ruined it.
What if the pizza boy was in on it?
That wasn't part of the theory.
It's true. It was not part of the theory.
Yeah. If the pizza boy was another undercover cop, now that would have been a different story. And that's kind of what I was expecting to hear, was that was another undercover cop. But just because
he's an undercover cop working narcotics on a completely different assignment. He just gets mad because they're blocking his way.
Yeah, because he's got a bus to make. So and just knowing the idea around the franchise, that's why I was expecting to hear the pizza boy was a cop too. But yes, I give this an unlikely.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because they provided some decent evidence, but like you, Laura, I have to give this an unlikely. The pizza boy kind of throws the whole theory out the window. I really enjoy this franchise. I know it is what it is. I know the quality of these films, and there are definitely some that I don't like, as I've said. But overall, it's just a lot of fun. It's a franchise that I can kind of turn my brain off and just enjoy the fast cars and explosions and all
like
the
Transformers.
Yes, exactly. And so yeah,
and Marvel movies.
I enjoy these. I don't watch these expecting to get a super deep plot, and so I genuinely don't think that the writers of this really thought hard enough to try to make all of this other stuff that the theory was saying actually happen. So unlikely.
All right. Well, that was a fun thing. Thank you, Michael, for liking that franchise so that we can do a theory for the people that also like that franchise.
Of course.
However, it is almost time to bring this episode to a close, but before we do, I just wanted to share this detail I found on Reddit. You know, these movie industry facts almost never line up with the theory that we cover, but fortune has smiled on us. And I saw this detail about how Fast and Furious cast one of its actors. Did you know that, despite being a walker, Paul Walker was cast in Fast and Furious movies because the director couldn't get Adam Driver for the lead role?
I like it.
Oh, that was a good one.
That is good.
Well done.
Well, on that note, this has been Fan Theory Queries. I'm Laura.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Spencer. In our next episode, we ask, does Indiana Jones exist in the MCU as a Winter Soldier? Subscribe to Fan Theory Queries so you don't miss out on that and other fascinating fan theories. Michael, are you roboting?
Am I?
Yep, you're a
Yes.
robot.
Hello.
Mm-hmm. Refresh.
Michael's roboting.
Fan Theory Queries is part of the Airwave Media Podcast Network. Visit airwavemedia.com to listen and subscribe to their other fine shows like The Unbiased Science Podcast, The Sit Down, a Mafia History podcast, and I Know What Scares You.